Welcome to Mastering the Math of Business with Lauren Young. Today we're going to be discussing one of my favorite mental models. A mental model is a way of looking at something that has a tendency to be complex or difficult to understand. And its purpose is to help simplify the moving parts or the elements that need to come together for something to happen. Today's math is about the consumer to retained customer model. It's actually a progression model that takes somebody from an unaware state of your existence and moves them through awareness, knowledge, affinity to purchase, where ultimately they're now going to experiment if what they thought was going to come about as a result of their purchase does or does not. If it does, they become a retained customer, someone that's likely to buy from you again. If it doesn't, then they're likely to drop off. And if they love it, they're likely to promote you to other people. And so the key to this model is to appreciate that attracting new customers to a business is difficult. Retaining them makes it easier to realize your sales goals. But the point is, these earlier phases in this progression model are important because until somebody knows you exist, they'll never make a purchase from you. Until they develop affinity or they develop a desire for what you're offering, they're not going to purchase. So you grow your sales by designing your sales process around helping your target customers move through this. And if you're a business that's highly reliant on retaining customers, then you're designing that on the front end of your sales process so that you can improve it on the back end where the customer is retained. So let's appreciate just how important this is by looking at there's really three primary growth strategies available to businesses. One is it's consumer attention. In other words, you're trying to bring in new customers. The second one is customer maximization, where you're trying to increase what's referred to as the share of wallet of a customer. In other words, this is where the cross-selling and getting them to buy more from you or more frequently from you. And then the third one is win back. In other words, you lost a customer, now you're going to go after them and try to win them back. And here's the key measures associated with these three different growth strategies. This top one, it comes down to the lead generation cost and your conversion rate. In other words, those are the two driving factors that affect this particular sales growth strategy. Win back is about wallet share. In other words, how much could they potentially buy from you? And what more do you have to sell to them? That's the wallet share. And then the other one is retention rate. In other words, how many customers are coming back and buying from you? So let's look at the narrative now. This narrative is one of my longer ones because it reflects all the moving parts associated with being able to do the math of whether or not you want to emphasize going after new customers or dial in your ability to retain your existing customers. So here, appreciate it this way. You've got a new sales goal of 12.2 million and a retention rate of 40%. If your average transaction value is $10,000, then you're going to need 762 new customers in the plan year than you had in the previous year. That's because you're going to have 60% of your customers drop off and you're going to have to replace them. The option here, outside of raising prices so that you can increase this average transaction value, is we'll hold that number constant and we'll just look at how many new quotes you need to generate that will then translate into how many new leads you need to create, which then translates into how many impressions you need to generate. Now you're up the process a little bit, looking at the marketing components. The point is, you're going to have to do activities that will get down to the 762. And the point is, again, that moving somebody from ignorance to awareness is going to require investments. And that's why there's a customer acquisition cost. And in this scenario, it's $250 per new customer. So if you need 762 new customers, you're going to spend $190,000 to generate that new customer base. It's not an easy strategy. This capture consumer attention to create new customers is a great long-term strategy, and it's the key to long-term success, but it's a difficult near-term strategy. The better strategy in the near term is to improve your retention rate. In other words, if you were to go from 40% to 50% retention, in other words, now you're holding on to half of your customers into the next year, your new customer pressure drops from 762 to 645. Put another way, that's 1.1 million that you'll get through repeat customer sales that you don't need to generate in new customer sales to realize your sales goal. So there's actually 3 different elements that come into this calculation model, and the core numbers you need, again, is the top line and the bottom line. And we're going to draw against the top line in particular as we go through this. Here's the additional factors or results that you need to know. There is quite a bit that you need to know here, and we'll simplify this by looking at the 3 different types of calculations to appreciate how significant the consumer to retained customer model is. The first 3 numbers you need to know, in addition to your sales plan, is what's your average transaction value, and what's your retention rate, and what's your quote conversion rate. You need to know those 3 things. And so what that does is it boils down to, you're going to need to generate 1,200 total customers with the retention rate of 40%. That's going to give you 467 repeat customers, which will represent 4.7 million in sales. The balance is going to be made up in new sales, which is 762 new customers. Look at the next one. You'll get a sense of what's involved here, because now you're looking at your impression, your prospect conversion, your interaction conversion, and ultimately your quote conversion. In other words, these are things that you have to do to be able to take somebody from ignorance to purchase. And the way I like to think about this is this way. If you have a 3% impression conversion rate, that means you need to generate 33 impressions to get 1 lead. And you've got to have 2 quotes to get 1 new customer if you have a 50% quote conversion rate. So that means your 33 impressions will reduce down to 8 leads, which will then become 3 prospects that you can give 2 quotes to, and then you'll get 1 new customer. And so as you look at the math associated with this, these are the total number of impressions you need to get, leads generated, prospects somebody you start interacting with, to get to your quotes, which will then lead you to your actual cost to acquire new customers, and see how it starts to add up. The point again is you need to know what it takes to move somebody from ignorant to purchase. Now let's look at this third calculation, and this has to do with retention. It really is significant. When you improve your retention rate, you go like this. You move from retaining 4 out of 10 to now 5 out of 10. See how that changes your numbers? It's really significant. In fact, the best way to appreciate it is this way. You'll still need the same number of customers, but you'll actually need 117 fewer new customers because you'll have 117 more repeat customers. And that will take 1.1 million in sales pressure off of your new customer sales. That's a big deal. So with all videos, I welcome the opportunity to engage. And so the call to action here is to take advantage of one of our free assessments. This free assessment with one of our sales experts will help you learn just how important this consumer to retained progression model is to your business. Because the first key question when you're increasing sales is am I going to lean on new sales or am I going to lean on customer retained sales? And so go to business-cpr.com/F9. That's F9, and you'll be linked to signing up for this free assessment. Lastly, I do wish to encourage you to interact with questions, comments, things that you would like to see reviewed or presented. Likes are always appreciated, as well as subscriptions. YouTube loves subscribers, and I do too. So thanks again for tuning in to this edition of Mastering the Math of Business with Warren Miller.